Hey friends, welcome to the Me and Re podcast. Here, we're exploring who we truly are in Jesus. We're learning how we can grow together for His glory and our good. I'm Breanna Hoffman, and I can't wait for us to discover what it means to live with intention, to grow in our faith, and to embrace who we were created to be. So turn up the volume, take a breath, and lean in as we jump in with both feet. Ready for the adventure? Let's go! Hey friends, welcome to this week's episode of the Me and Re podcast. I'm your host, Breanna Hoffman, and I am here with my brand new friend, Breanna. I know, it's so fun. So, Breanna, can you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, friends. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me on. Like Rihanna said, my name is Breanna. I am a nonprofit coach and consultant, and I am also a wife and mother of four very fun, very sassy toddlers, all girls, which I have the ultimate girl gang, which is really fun. And I'm just really excited to be here today and to chat with you guys.
That is so fun. I love that you have a girl gang. I grew up with two brothers, and so I don't know that life, but I'm sure that is super exciting at your house.
Yes. My poor husband, we definitely keep him on his toes, but we have a good time. It's good. I'm really interested to see what it's going to look like once they're all teenagers. Definitely going to
Hmm.
need all the prayers I can get, but yes, we have lots of fun.
That's so fun. Okay, so I have a question for you. How do you stay true to who you are in a world that's always changing?
Yeah. So I think that that's a really like complex question, right? Because first you have to know who you are to be able to stay true to yourself. So personally, a lot of my identity, I at least try. I don't think anybody's perfect, but I try to be rooted in Christ, and I really try to take my cues from him of what he's calling me to, who he's called me to. And so that has helped a lot in giving me the foundation of figuring out, okay, like, who am I? What do I care about? What are things I really feel like God is leading me to? What are things that is calling me to? And how do I stay true to that? And how do I make sure that even when life circumstances change, even when I enter new seasons of my life with new people, how do I keep what God has told me front and center?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Do you have any tips on how to do that, on how to keep God front and center?
Yeah, I think like so I'll use an example from my own life. So a lot of people, I'm 28, and so a lot of people are like, how did you get into the nonprofit world? I have actually been in the nonprofit space for over 12 years now. Believe it or not, I started when I was 16, and so that season really since I started, kind of my professional career and like a very young season, it was really hard to navigate like what it looked like to show up like as my full self, to like have my identity, especially because I was filtering through many different seasons of my life, right? So, I started as a teenager when I was 16. I helped co-found an organization that was later turned into a nonprofit, and then I ran that nonprofit for 10 years. And it was so God ordained. Only God could have created the story that he did. And so, in that aspect, it was so clear to me that, like, there's no way I could have done this myself. So, God must have done this. And so, when
Mhm.
seasons came where people were like, you can't be a nonprofit founder, you shouldn't be running this organization, it was really easy for me to lean back into, like, but God told me. So I think like first you have to be talking to God and asking them like what do you want me to be doing? What do you want my life to look like? How do you want me to use the gift of my life? And when he starts answering, write it down and remember that, because it's going to be really easy to fall out of sync with that reality as life changes, as seasons change. And so for me, it was like I had this very clear moment of when God was like, hey, I put you through certain situations to so you would have a story that would help other people. And so now
Mm.
I need you to actually do the work. And so anytime that I felt like not doing the work, I had to go back to God told me to do this. And so no matter what anybody else thinks about it, I need to do this.
Yeah, what an amazing
So
motivator to just be able to look back and say, "Okay, God told me to, so I'm gonna do it." I love that.
yeah. Yeah, and I know, like, in that aspect, I'm so lucky because not everybody has that moment, right? So, like, for a more
Mhm.
practical stance, if you haven't had a moment where God kinda, like, hit you in the face and was like, "Hey, child, do this," I think it's, like, being rooted in your word, being around people who are godly influences, who care about you, who can speak life over you, and then, like, doing the best you can and checking in constantly. So if you're not for sure where you're supposed to be going, like, stop, pause, check in with God. Okay, what did God say? Okay, I'll keep trying this way. Like if it's an obvious yes, I'll keep going this way. If it's an obvious no, pivot. If it's a I'm not sure, then it's just day by day, like figuring, taking one step and then saying like, "Hey, is this right? No? Yes? Maybe? Okay, I'll keep trying."
I love that picture in my head because I totally saw myself, like, in your mind's eye. It's like, "Okay, I'm at a crosswalk. Is the light gonna turn green? Oh, it's not. It's broken. Okay, cool. Do I go? Do I not go? Do I go? Okay, Lord, you said go, so I'm going."
Right, exactly. And it's just like the constantly like being like interdependent to God, right? Of like stepping in, asking him like, "Hey, I don't know. I think you want me to do this. Is this right? Is this still the direction you want me to go? Did I hear you correctly? Yes? Perfect. No? Dang, what did I get wrong? Maybe? Crap, I don't like that answer, but okay, I'll keep going
Uh-huh.
until you give me a clear one."
Yeah, and I think that's where community comes in. And it's
Mhm.
so important to have those community people that can be like, "Okay, what are you hearing from the Lord? This is what I'm hearing from the Lord for you. This is what he told me to tell you." And when you get to
Right.
ask those questions to other people that have the Lord in them and have that gift of discernment, and it's important because you get to ask them and say, "Okay, this is what I heard. Is this just me? Or am I actually hearing from the Lord? Like this is what he told me." And when they get to validate that in you, you're like, "Okay, cool. I am going the right direction."
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the best pieces of being like in godly community. So like I guess that's another hot tip, right? Like if you're not in godly community, if you don't have people around you that you trust to speak into your life, that's a really good place to start because there's definitely times in my life that I'm like I don't want to do this anymore. Like this is hard. Like this is dumb. Like this doesn't look the way I thought it would look like. And to have people in my corner who can both encourage me and hold me accountable to what they know I've been called to do in my life is so crucial.
I totally agree. Okay, so I have woo, I have another question for you. What's one struggle you faced in figuring out your identity, and how did you grow from it?
Yeah. So I for the sake of the example, I'm gonna keep it back in this nonprofit space where I originally talked about. So, so a little bit of backstory so everybody's like on the same page of my story. So as an elementary school and middle school student, I was horrendously bullied.
Mhm.
And if I'm being really honest, I was really mad at God about it because I am the Enneagram 1, type A, eldest daughter. I do all the right things. I work really hard. I take care of people. And I'm like, God, why would you like let these people be mean to me? Like, why? Like, I'm trying so hard. And this bullying, it wasn't just like schoolyard taunts. Like, due to this, I was diagnosed with major depression at 13. Like, it was a really hard season for me to navigate. And there was lots of times that I was like, God, I don't even want to be here. Like, this is hard.
Mhm.
These people are mean. Like, I don't know how to move through this season. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's like you're not here, right? So, fast forward to high school, things get a little bit better. The main source of my issue had ended up moving away. And so I was scrolling Facebook one night and I kept seeing these like rest in peace posts for a middle school student. And it wasn't anyone I knew, so I kind of like flipped through them. But after like the fourth or fifth time seeing a post, I stopped and read the story, and unfortunately, it was a middle school student in my hometown who died by suicide due to
Mhm.
bullying. And it was literally like God slapped me in my face and was like, Brianna, you went through what you went through to show people that there is light at the other side. Like, I gave you a story, I gave you a purpose, and you're not doing anything to help anyone. And it literally, like, shook me to my core in a way that I've probably never heard God so clearly like I did that night. And so it was like super easy for me to be like, okay, well, I have to do something. And so I got up, I wrote a proposal, I went to my principal, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go talk to middle school kids and tell them about life after bullying. And he was like, that's so sweet, but absolutely not. You're not going to do that. You're 16 years old. And I was like, that's funny that you think I'm not going to. Thank you for thank you for the feedback, but I'm gonna go ask someone else. And so I kind of took my proposal, it got passed around, and a lot of the feedback was like, that is so kind, Brianna. You have such a sweet heart. Absolutely not. Will you go into schools and talk to other students? And like as an adult, I understand their perspective of like, they didn't know what I was gonna say. Like, outside of this little piece of paper that I had, like, there was no, there's nothing to prove to them that I should be doing this, right? But God so kindly orchestrated that my proposal got to my co founder who picked it up. He was the assistant basketball coach at the time. And it so just so happened, but I totally think it was God orchestrated that that year his basketball boys were doing a bullying prevention show where usually they did a character count show. And so he connected with me and he was like, hey, I'm doing this thing, maybe you want to be a part of it, how about you come check it out? And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to. We go to the show. I'm sitting thinking I'm going to watch it. He hands me a microphone and I run it. And it was completely terrifying at first, but after that first show, it was like a bug. I was like, I never felt so sure that that was exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And
Mhm.
so when it came time to like the end of the year came, I was like, I want to keep doing this and I want to do XYZ. And so he was like, sure. And it was so sweet of God to put this man in my life who was like a constant encouragement. I think in the 10 years that we ran this organization together, he only told me no once. And it was over a color of a shirt that I wanted to do. And it was because it was the rival school colors of our basketball rivals. And he was like, there's no way will I wear a purple shirt. Other than that, he didn't tell me no once our entire time of working together, okay? But within that journey, there was a ton of people who did tell me no. There was a ton of people who was like, you're not qualified to do this, who really struggled with the concept of taking, you know, like orders from a 16, 17, 18, 19-year old CEO and president of an organization. And there's lots of times I was like, I gotta quit. Like, I'm holding our organization back. Like there's people who just like don't trust me. They don't understand why or how I could be in this position. And it was a constant battle of like, God, you told me to do this, but like nobody else gets it. Nobody else is like bought into this idea. What do you want me to do? And the like constant response was, do what I told you to do. And so like I think like we're being so rooted in this idea of like, okay, I love doing this thing. I feel the most myself that I ever felt when doing this thing, and people don't get why or how I can do it. And that's not my problem. That's their problem. And it came I got this really clear realization that like God told me to do it. He didn't tell XYZ person to do it. And so if I listened to XYZ person, his will wouldn't be done. But if I just sat and continued listening to God, then what he wanted for this organization and what he wanted to do with my story that felt so broken and so hurtful and so unnecessary, it wouldn't have gotten done if I hadn't have just been like obedient to the plan. And that experience within itself, like me thinking 3 years before, like, God, this is for nothing, why are you letting this happen, to like this turned into a nonprofit that I ran for 10 years, and now I get to coach other nonprofit founders and organizations about how to create an impactful and legacy leaving organization. Like, I didn't have the full vision, but God did. And so, like, trusting that, like, God has the plan and that he's gonna bring it to completion if you keep stepping with him, that's a huge motivator for me to keep going because I've seen it done in my life.
Yeah, I love this. Oh my goodness. I love how the Lord in Ephesians 2 it tells us that we are God's masterpiece and he's still working on us. This is Rihanna's paraphrase. Um that he's still working on us because he has good things planned for us. That's not word for word.
Mhm.
That's Rihanna's paraphrase. And in your life, you are literally seeing this thing that was you thought was futile. Like you thought, Lord, how could you let this happen to me? And then just
Right.
3 or 4 years later, the Lord's like, "Hi, I told you it was for a purpose, and you're going to get to share it now." And not only did you get to share it with those people in your community, you created a nonprofit with it, affected thousands of people, and now you're getting to coach people on how to launch a nonprofit, which is a hard thing, by the way, because I work for a nonprofit, and there's a lot of extra things that nobody knows about.
Yeah,
Nobody has any
1,000.
clue about.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, it's just been so beautiful to see, like, hindsight is always 2020, like, if you're in the midst like, just speaking straight to the listeners right now, if you're in the midst of a season that feels hard or difficult or challenging, like, God bless you, and, like, it's okay to not feel, like, on fire and like, "Ugh, God has a plan," because sometimes that's not helpful, you know? It's not helpful to hear that. Sometimes you need to hear, like, "This is hard." Like, "This is unfair. This feels, like, difficult," and it's okay to honor those feelings, and then you add, "But God," because God can take a situation from 0 to 100 in a blink of an eye, and it's not on our timeline, and I think that's a other huge thing about, like, identity, is you have to, like, open palm your identity so often, right? Like, God might tell you something, and then you create your version of what you think that is, and then sometimes you have to let that version go, right? So, like, same vein, I thought I was going to run my nonprofit for the rest of my life, and at year 10, God said, "Give it up." And I was like, "What do you mean give it up? I started it from nothing. Why would you ask me to do this?" And he was like, "I need you to let it go. I need to know that you trust me and not what I've given you." And so, like, it's okay to, like, be in a season and it feel really hard and to not necessarily like the plan that God has given you, but trusting that he loves you and that he's a good father and that he will bring this good thing to completion. Jess Connolly, our fellow coach, she likes to say a lot, like, if it's not good, God's not done. Like, and
Uh-huh.
that's the truth. Like, if it's not good, God's not done.
Absolutely. I love this so much. Okay, so I have another follow-up question.
Yeah.
How does your faith shape your decisions about your career, your relationships, your life goals? I mean, we just heard you tell us that you dropped your nonprofit because the Lord told you to. So, how does that work in your everyday life? Like, how do you let your faith, your belief in Jesus, shape how you do everything else?
Yeah, I think, like, especially in this season of my life, I am a mother to 4, 5 and younger, right? So I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then twin 2-year-olds. And so, like, I am an ambitious girly. I'm the Enneagram 1. I like to get stuff done. I believe in justice. And so this season, while like running a business and working and also mothering, there's a lot of like sacrifice that has to happen. And it's a constant like, Lord, you gave me these beautiful children. I want to steward and love them well. And sometimes in that process of stewarding and loving them well, that means I have to set something down. That means I have to make adjustments. That means I have to work in the margin. And that's hard, right? There's also like the fact of like, I was having a conversation with one of my friends earlier this week, and it's like, a lot of businesses being an entrepreneur, especially in the online space, it's about like how can you make the most amount of money the fastest, right? And when you are a kingdom minded gal, that's not the goal. the goal is impact, right? It's impact over income every day of the week. And so sometimes that means that I have to make decisions that don't align with what the world say, but they align with what my faith says and trying to be really true. Um, I think one of the biggest things I'm learning in this season is that like my gut is usually the Holy Spirit and it's always right. So if I have like an opportunity, but it doesn't feel just right, then I'm like, dang, I have to pass that up. Or if there's like a person that I really want to work with, but I just know in my heart that it isn't aligned, or if there's like a client that comes on and I really want to work with them, or I really want to, make the sale, but I know that my work won't help them, or like the program won't my programs won't benefit them in the season that they're in, I have to work in integrity and tell them, even if that means losing the money, even if that means not getting as far as I want to be in my business, even if it means whatever, because if not, that like spoiled fruit produces more like spoilage, like I want
Mhm.
good fruit. I want to work in integrity so I can feel good about the work that I do, and anytime that I'm not aligned to that, something goes wrong. And so just
Mhm.
like having to like come to terms with like sometimes I don't get to do things the way that I want to. I don't get to make all the sales that I want. I don't get to have all the like pursue all the opportunities that I have, and my work is still good and the work that I am doing is still important. And just like having to have like that integrity and that heart check to be like, dang, that would be cool, but that's not for me, not today. And believing that like God will bring something even better later if I continue to be like faithful, whether it's this side of heaven or the next.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, and that's such great advice and wisdom to, like, believe in the discernment that the Lord gives you. A lot of people don't have that gifting. I don't know if you know that. That is not my gifting. My gifting is administration. And so when you talk about the Lord saying, "Hey, no," I love that you were just willing to obey him because he said so.
Yeah,
And in my life, I don't have that gifting. So I have to rely on other people that have that gifting. So
yeah,
because you know who you are in Christ and you know that he gives good things to his kids and he puts you in situations that is fruitful for you. Now whether that's fruitful to the world, that's a totally different story. But we know
right.
that he asks us to bear fruit. And so that fruit sometimes is just our character. It's not necessarily income based. And I love that you are letting the Lord direct and lead and guide in ways that people that are way our senior haven't figured out yet. And so when we get to share our stories, we get to give that wisdom to other people. And so thank you for sharing that with us. That was really important.
Well, thank you. And I think like it's hard. Like and I don't want to sit here and anybody get the misconception that I get it right all the time. Sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I'm like, "Nah, God, I made the plan. We're on this schedule. Like, get in the car." And God's like, I just so lovingly, especially as a mother now, I see him just like kind of giggling up in heaven, patting my head like, "Oh, honey, that's not gonna go how you think it is, but like bet, try it and then come back when you're
Mhm.
done." So like I think there's also like an important statement in that is that even if you do get it wrong, even if you do mess it up, God redeems every day of the week when you come back to him, and you're never too far gone to return back to Christ. You're never too far gone to like come back to his plan. I love the saying, you are not so powerful that you could break God's plan. And like for me who like is that type A, like wants to do everything right, that is such a comfort to me in my heart that I will never be powerful enough to break God's plan for my life. I just have to be obedient enough to come back when I mess it up.
Yes. I need that on a print on my wall. Be obedient. You can't break it. I love that. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our listeners? You've given us so many great nuggets.
Oh, well, guys, I absolutely love connecting, and especially if you are a nonprofit leader, a nonprofit founder, a nonprofit hopeful, come hang out on my side of the internet. I would love to support you and guide you and give you all of the nuggets and lessons that I had to learn the hard way so you don't have to. I'm constantly selling into my program or doing like one off coaching if that's something you're interested in. Or if you just want some advice, you want to share about this dream that God has placed on your heart, I would love to hear about it and cheer you on. Whether you coach with me or not, I'm on your team. So feel free to not be a saint. Feel free to not be a stranger. Reach out. I love connecting with people and I'd love to chat with you.
I love that so much. So we're going to put all of your info in our show notes. If you don't know where our show notes are, you're going to click the button, you have the play button, the fast forward button. You're going to click that, and it's going to have 3 dots. And then you're going to scroll up, friends. You're going to scroll up or down, depending upon your screen moves up, friends. Your screen moves up. And it'll have all of her Instagram. It might have some other information, but you can find all that below. Otherwise, Breanna, it has been a joy and a privilege, and I have absolutely loved having this conversation. Can't wait to hang out again. And friends, for real, she's cool. You should hang out with her. You should DM her in the non-weird way and get to know some more of Breanna and her wisdom and her coolness. So, friends, it's been a ball. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Hey, friends, if today's episode stirred something in you and you're ready to dig deeper into who God created you to be, I've got a free gift for you. It's called Embracing Your God-Given Purpose, a 7-day reflective journey. Each day gives you space to pause, reflect, and take some small steps toward understanding your worth, your gifts, and what it means to walk confidently in your calling. You can grab it for free at my website, breannahoffman.com, or there's a link in the show notes to this freebie. Let's walk this journey together. That's it for today's episode of Meet and Re. I hope this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, and reminded you that you are seen, valued, and loved. If you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. It helps more women like us step into who we were created to be. Keep leaning in, keep growing, and keep walking with Jesus. Until next time, bye, friend!